Florida, the Sunshine State. Its balmy winter climate and natural beauty have made it America's vacation land. The ultimate paradise for fun. But everything isn't always as it seems. This coastline looks beautiful at a distance. Up close, it's a different story.
In Florida, we have a state of emergency at several beaches. People are now being urged to stay out of the water.
Marinas closed, beaches empty.
The slime and giant plumes of algae you see are symptoms of a man-made creation inflicted on Florida's ecosystem.
We're in the middle of summer and our kids can't go swimming.
Losing the viability and the beauty of our beaches is suicidal for Florida.
We can't go in the river because it's toxic. We can't go to the beach, it's toxic.
Last summer, the algae was so bad that Governor Rick Scott declared a state of emergency, closing down beaches along Florida's Treasure Coast. What's happening? And why? It's a story that involves a polluted lake, powerful economic interests, and some of the most dangerous weather in the world.
It's a microcystis blue-green algae, and that can cause a hepatotoxin, which is toxic to your liver. You come in contact with it, you could be basically poisoned by this slime.
This is the grossest thing that I've ever seen. You hear a lot about this is what toxic algae is, but to smell it and to see it, this should not be happening.
To understand what is happening, I've come to the source of the slime, Lake Okeechobee. It's so big, it looks like an ocean. For 6,000 years, Okeechobee drained south into the Everglades, giving life to one of the most biologically diverse regions on Earth. That changed when people arrived, turning swampland into farmland. Then, a century ago, a massive hurricane struck. Most folks don't realize that the 1928 Okeechobee hurricane was the second deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. At least 2,500 people died. Water flooded hundreds of miles of land. To prevent another deadly storm surge, the giant Herbert Hoover Dike was built to keep the lake in. Canals drain excess water to both coasts if levels become dangerous. But that choked off water to the Everglades, drying up more swamp. To the left of me, I have just miles upon miles, acres upon acres of sugarcane. And on the right, I have the Herbert Hoover Dike, and that holds back all of the water from Lake Okeechobee. So what's causing the algae problem? In a word, phosphorus, a key ingredient in fertilizer. From the north, the phosphorus in manure from commercial cattle ranches and dairy farms flows into the lake. From the south, excess water from fertilized sugarcane fields gets pumped into the lake. The water, laden with algae, flows by canals to both the east and west, ending up in the ocean. Billions of gallons of foul water destroys oyster beds. Dolphins and fish struggle. This manatee, videotaped last July, was left gasping for air in the toxic muck. Jackie Thurlow-Lipich and her pilot husband Ed showed us the problem from the air.
We just came out the inlet over here, right? And you can see the plume.
You can see the plume.
I'm in shock.
It's right there.
You can see a stark difference between the dark and the light, clear, beautiful water that the coast of Florida is known for.
Absolutely. And that is Lake Okeechobee water.
With Ed at the controls, Jackie took photos, posting what they saw on Facebook.
The water looks like coffee. Disgusting.
So this is the St. Lucie River right here, correct?
That area over there with all of the discoloration is the Sailfish Flats, the most biodiverse area in North America, or was. It has been completely drowned out by these releases.
You can see from the air that the damage extends far beyond the lake.
criminal. I think it's criminal.
Mike Connor is a longtime fishing guide, but the polluted water from Lake Okeechobee has killed his business. Fed up, he's now a clean water activist.
It's about dollars and cents. My business fell off, this year fell off about 50%. The problem is the perception is out there. You have customers come year after year and they see bad fishing, bad water, know about the discharges. They don't call you again. You know, and Florida is a sport fishing capital of the world. This great title. But our politicians from the governor on down aren't treating it like the sport fishing capital. They're letting the water go to hell. And we're really fearful if we don't turn this around in the next decade, we're going to lose it.
So this is affecting the industry here, not just fishing, but anything that happens on the water.
I call it trickle up. It trickles up. We put people in the water. They have to stay in a hotel. They go to restaurants. They go to the movies at night. They rent a car here. They buy gas here. All these things they do. If they're not here in my boat fishing, they're not here.
It gets worse. The fertilizer-infused water could be making people sick.
It was a gorgeous day, so we headed out on the boat. My husband and my son Bodie, who was 20 months old at the time, went swimming. And like most young children do, they take in water when they're swimming or eating. It wasn't until early the next morning that I was woken up by my son crying. And when I got to his crib, it was full of vomit. He threw up everywhere.
How did his illness progress from there?
Bodie took a very long time to recover 100%. The pediatrician said to me that it's great to live here, you have a beautiful view, but you don't want to necessarily go swimming in the water because you would take your own health at risk when you do.
Whatever caused Bodie's illness, altering the natural flow of Florida's water has become an environmental crisis.
So this entire mess, it kind of all goes back to sugar. Pre-1900, when they first started draining all this land, all this swamp land, to be used for sugarcane fields, and they've had complete success growing here. The problem is that it's still a system that's in place today to keep the sugarcane fields dry.
They get perfect crop conditions and perfect irrigation, perfect drainage for their crop, and record crops every year.
But the complex system of waterways and pumping stations have been disastrous to the environment. The drained land has also grown cities and sprawling suburbs. Adding insult to injury, sugar no longer powers Florida's economy. Tourism does.
When the dike was built around the lake and stopped that river of grass flow to the south, to the Everglades from Lake Okeechobee, they had this entitlement of saying, we're going to make this agricultural land. They want to keep the status quo.
But Mark, you're ticked about this. Why?
I'm mad because they won't cooperate and say we need just some connection between Lake Okeechobee and the Everglades. And they don't seem to want to give 1 acre towards that.
In 2008, U.S. Sugar, the largest sugar company in the country, did agree to sell their land.
Thanks to U.S. Sugar Corporation, we have a strategy to acquire almost 187,000 acres of land, renewing the natural flow to America's river of grass.
But it didn't happen. The Great Recession came, and the state did not pursue purchasing all the land.
It's the political will that's not there. There's not enough political will to make this happen.
The ag industry, especially Big Sugar, has so much influence in Tallahassee and Washington. They're top of the totem pole. We're way down here. We belong up here.
U.S. Sugar declined our request for an interview. Buy the land became a rallying cry for some residents along Florida's Treasure Coast. Last 4th of July, they skipped putting out beach chairs or building sandcastles to send a message to politicians.
There's thousands of people out here to show our support to save our river. Send the water south.
The only viable solution is to create a pathway for the water south into the Everglades.
Our legislature has to buy the land and get a flowway built so we have no more discharges to the coast.
But buying the land and engineering costs would cost Florida taxpayers billions of dollars. For now, the plan is to keep spending money to fortify the aging Herbert Hoover Dike. There is no end in sight for the environmental disaster. The lake's water will still be pushed to the coast, fouling beaches and potentially destroying people's health. The final blow comes when you factor in Mother Nature. A large hurricane over Lake Okeechobee could cause the dike to fail, once again flooding the land and the people that so much has been sacrificed to save.